So was last night's outcome more about the 76ers' stellar play or the Celtics' struggles?
To me, it was about the Celtics' struggles, and I'll give the 76ers credit. Maxey with a big night, Embiid with a big night, Harden orchestrating, House off the bench. But the Celtics right now are not executing game plan at a high level, right? They're at their best offensively with body and ball movement. We saw too much ISO last night. They're not doing a great job of involving Jaylen Brown. He's come out in this series every first quarter, super aggressive. His touches have gone down. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. They keep going down. They've done a good job for the most part in this series of forcing James Harden right in pick and roll. He's a much less effective passer going right. Last night in 15 pick and rolls where they sent him right 7 times, no points. They let him get to his left hand 8 times. That was 1.71 points per possession. So as much as it was about P.J. Tucker's physicality, Joel Embiid's effort, the chase down block in particular was spectacular after the turnover when he blocked Jaylen Brown in the second half. To me, this is about the Celtics and just a lack of execution on both ends.
Well, I think anything that results in a winner and a loser, there's always a splash of both, right? There's always going to be blame. There's also going to be a lot of credit. I'm going to focus more on the Sixers since he did a nice job there on the Celtics. For me, this feels different. When I look at the Joel Embiid era in Philadelphia, we haven't seen this deep into the season. And here's what I mean by that. He's healthy. He's not, we talk about the knee, doesn't look like it's bothering him whatsoever. He's had a co-star show up in a big way. Take a look at some of the past playoff performances of some of the guys he was counting on to come through in a big way. They didn't show up when he needed them to on a night, maybe even when he wasn't his best. He's got that right now with the way Harden is playing.
Was that a personal shot at me?
No. Actually, I'd have to go back and check the numbers, JJ. I didn't have your numbers in those moments at my disposal, but no, it really wasn't directed at you. Some other guys, and I won't even get into some of them because we know who I'm talking about. An X-Factor type performance on a night you need it. He's getting that. That's been lacking in the past playoff performances. Maxey last night. What he even got out of Daniel House last night, unexpected. He comes in and just plays with so much confidence. This whole thing feels different. For them to go on the road in Boston in a Game 5, knowing their track record in these moments, not just even in the Embiid era, historically, but particularly in the Embiid era, to be that dominant, where you take a team that at no point at home, team as good as Boston, even makes a threatening run at any time in the game. That's as dominant as you can be on both ends of the floor. So for me, that was more about a breakthrough moment for Philly and where this team is right now collectively as we continue this playoff run. Because I don't think they've been in this good a place, Jay, since Joel Embiid got there.
Legs, I'm with you. I'm happy for the breakthrough moment. And it's good to see Joel Embiid find his rhythm playing without that knee brace. I think having the confidence playing through injury, that's always been the thing we've talked about for Joel Embiid, is him getting injured at the wrong time and his team never being able to actually bring it all together when it matters the most. So I give James Harden and Joel Embiid and Doc Rivers, another name who's caught a lot of slack back in the past, a lot of credit. I do want to bring it back to your point, though, JJ, on the Celtics, because I think there's a bigger point here. The presence of Joe Mazzulla is very, very different than the presence of Ime Udoka, and that is apparent. It is apparent when you hear Marcus Smart after Game 2 talk about the randomness of the offense. It is apparent when, JJ, you make mention of not getting the ball to Jaylen Brown late in games and this being a disappearing act. Now, there's player accountability here that does not get absolved. This is a veteran team that's been to an NBA Finals before. That there's onus on Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. But I think one of the things that I keep seeing, like when I watch Stephen Kerr and I watch the Lakers play with Darvin Ham, I'm seeing, okay, here's the original move, here's the counter, here's the counter to the counter, here's the counter to the counter. Where that's Vanderbilt guarding Alexis Stephen Curry. Now we're going to switch it up. We're going to put Vanderbilt on Draymond Green. We're going to put Austin Reeves on Steph Curry. So when they go pick and roll, okay, now Steve Kerr. I'm going to put GP the second in the pick and roll. I'm seeing moves. I'm not seeing those type of adjustments in this series with the Boston Celtics. And I think there is a lack of trust in these critical moments due to the lack of experience that the players have with Joe Mazzulla. I saw it late in the game where they finally started to front the post with Marcus Smart. And then I finally saw Al Horford playing off P.J. Tucker, logging in from the weak side. I'm like, why haven't you guys been doing that a lot longer? There are 2 games in this series that James Harden has won when everybody knows what's coming. It's ISO or it's pick and roll. And I don't understand why we haven't seen that type of counter as relates to Joe Mazzulla. I think the lack of experience is rearing its ugly head right now.
So I would say this. Defensively, I don't think they've been as good as they were last year. And I recognize that they were the number 2 defense overall. But obviously their defensive numbers went up. It's relative to league average, right? So I think defensively, they're not as good. On the offensive point, the Marcus Smart quote about randomness of the offense I found really interesting. And it's something I wanted to bring up with both of you guys, actually. I don't think this is about Mazzulla. I don't think this is about Udoka. I think this is about the inherent, not flaws, but the inherent conundrum, because it's not a fatal flaw, but the inherent conundrum of your 2 best players having a little bit of redundancy and not necessarily being able to play 2-man action together. I think about the other teams that I have as like serious contenders right now. Harden and Embiid, Curry and Green, LeBron and Anthony Davis, Jokic and Murray. There's enough complementary skill sets there where when you need a bucket, you can just go to 2-man action. And what does 2-man action do when it's complementary? It creates opportunities for other players. Right now, the Celtics offense is relying entirely too much on ISO basketball, trying to break down a defender, and then getting into that drive and kick game that you talked about. The problem with that in the playoffs at times is when you go up against a great defensive team, like the Philadelphia 76ers, like the Golden State Warriors last season. And again, they were 2 wins away from an NBA championship. I'm not saying this is a fatal flaw of their roster. I'm merely pointing out an observation that I've had for a number of years out now, where your 2 best players don't necessarily get to run 2-man action a lot because there's redundancy in skill set.
How confident are you the Suns can still take this series?
I've always thought Denver was going to win the series.
Okay.
I never had the Suns as my favorite to win the series. I thought Denver has been the best team in the Western Conference for all the season. And having home court advantage in the Mile High City goes a long way, especially with the pace that Phoenix is trying to play at. There was a bigger thing I wanted to bring up that it really bothered me last night. Legs, you and I talked a little bit about it on Get Up. There is no doubt that Devin Booker has been one of the most prolific players the game of basketball has ever seen in these playoffs. I mean, last 2 games, with the exception of last night, averaging 41 points on 80% shooting last night. He had more missed shots than he had made field goals. Kevin Durant was inefficient last night as well. But, I really question where the heart and the soul of DeAndre Ayton is. And I know that he has not received his touches. But if I were to take you guys, Game 5, he was minus 21, plus minus. Game 4, minus 13. Game 3, minus 4. Game 2, 0. And Game 1, minus 21. Okay? Jokic is averaging 35 points per game, 10 assists per game, 14 rebounds on 51% shooting from the floor, and 47% shooting from the three-point line. He is annihilating DeAndre Ayton. There were so many possessions last night where I saw Jokic, who I'll refer to as a methodical runner. You know what that means? That's a nice way of saying he's slow.
Okay.
He beat Ayton down the floor multiple times. What the hell is going on? Where is the passion? And every time I saw Ayton get scored on, it was just like, okay, all right. Where's the anger? Even in a timeout, I saw Devin Booker and KD. I've known KD for a long time. I've known D Book since the Elite 24 game when he was 16 years old. 2 passionate dudes who are furious, trying to find any way to get the best out of him, say, yo, we need you, go shoot that shot, whatever. He got out of a timeout, left the huddle, walked to the end of the bench, sat by himself. So I'm sitting there saying, first off, I don't think there's any way DeAndre Ayton's going to be in this team next year. I'm not saying he's the main reason they're losing, but there is every playoff team that wins a championship, you need your role players to step up in big ways. You can't control shot making, but you can control your effort and your energy. And I'm questioning the energy and the effort that DeAndre Ayton is bringing to the table because he has gotten destroyed in every game in this playoff series. Not one game with over 10 rebounds. For a guy who's 7'1", 250 pounds, you're telling me you can't get 10 rebounds and just be an energy and effort guy? And I know you're not touching the rock, but still, stop letting your offense dictate what you can bring to the table defensively. And that's a major issue and concern I have with this team.
Yeah, it's a fair point on Ayton, and I don't think any of us would have thought coming into this series that Jock Landale would be the more impactful big for the Phoenix Suns, and give credit to him because he's at least played hard. Maybe he hasn't put up insane numbers, but he's played hard and he's impacted winning. Low confidence right now for the Suns, for me. And even after 2-0, I said this, their formula, their sustainable formula to win a series against Denver, it's Kevin Durant and Devin Booker making tough shots in ISO, and it's their bench shooting the crap out of the ball when they double team. And we saw a little bit of that in Game 3. We saw a lot of that in Game 4. Last night against Booker doubles, they were 2 for 9 shooting out of a Booker double. They were 10 for 12 in Game 4. Are you going to get a 10 for 12 game two times going forward? Are you going to get the Game 4 version of Durant and Booker in Game 6 and Game 7? Because they both had numbers. They came crashing down to earth a little bit last night. KD in particular ran 17 ISOs, shot 13 times out of those ISOs. Not efficient. Third most shots in ISO that he's taken over the last 10 years. The other reason I'm not confident, you mentioned the Jokic stuff, but to me, it's the two-man game between Jamal Murray and Jokic. And it was that two-man game in the third quarter that really broke this game open. Shamet and Murray kind of got into it there in the third, physical. There was multiple plays in a row where they're bumping each other, grabbing each other. And then Jamal Murray just said, I'm going to turn the corner and make plays. You know, he's getting and ones. He's kicking back to Jokic. He's getting in the paint, hitting Michael Porter Jr. for corner threes. Other than Game 2, they haven't had a great answer for that action. And for those reasons, that's why my confidence is low. Do I think it's possible for the Suns to come back and win 2 games? Absolutely. I would never, ever doubt the ability of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.